Microsoft has a secret weapon that I think very few people are actually speaking about. Now, this is not a weapon that for some reason is going to make the company turn into like a multi-trillion dollar company, even though it is a multi-trillion dollar company. This is not some secret weapon that's going to change Microsoft's trajectory against every other big tech company in the world. But it is a secret weapon that I do think is underlooked and has the potential to be even larger than it is right now. And as a result of being even larger than it is right now, the question becomes, what impact can this company have on Microsoft's bottom line? Especially when Microsoft owns the company. Let's talk about LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a massive social network, and it's a social network that I knew was big, but I'm only starting to recognize is bigger than ever. Here's what was said on the recent earnings call from Microsoft and some thoughts from LinkedIn. LinkedIn CEO said, there's 875 million members on LinkedIn. By the way, if you don't know what LinkedIn is, it's a social network for business communication. So people go, they set up their profile. You can see where they worked in the past, their job experience. And it is now becoming a content hub, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But think of it as Facebook for business. There are 3 members joining LinkedIn every second. Every second, 3 new people join LinkedIn. It is unfathomable, the scale of some of these platforms. 2 out of 3 of those members are outside of the United States. A lot of strength right now in Asia Pacific, a ton of strength right now in India. We're nearing 100 million members right now in India. I mean, this stuff is incredible. Like, this stuff is unbelievable, some of the growth they're having. Let's read a little bit more about from LinkedIn CEO. Now, here's sort of why I believe they're a little bit of a secret weapon. LinkedIn CEO says, we're kind of a massive social graph, and that graph is a variety of components, nearly 900 million professionals, 50 million companies that have an active presence on the platform, and at any given time, those companies are posting anywhere between 14 to 16 million job postings. He also says we're the only Western network that operates in China, which is another important thing to understand about LinkedIn. So we have a real global view on what's happening. China has not allowed Google, YouTube, Facebook, etc. They've created alternative copies of those for the Chinese public. But LinkedIn is one of those platforms because it is at the intersection of business and not just social media. So there's actual job opportunities for Chinese citizens as a result of LinkedIn being active in the region. That is why China is pretty friendly to let LinkedIn into the region. And China has 1.3 billion people. A lot of those people need jobs. LinkedIn is a place for them to find jobs. A lot of those people will join LinkedIn. The connection between all those entities we just talked about, the graph updates roughly 5 million times per minute in terms of the connections between those entities and what's going on. So it's a real unique view, real-time view into what's happening across the global labor market. I can tell you which industry is going to be hot 3 months from now, what companies going to go out of businesses, and what skill gaps truly exist in the world. He also said, so it's just a really unique view into a real-time labor market. We actually work now with a lot of governments across the world to help them provide with more what I'll call real-time and accurate data about what's happening in their labor markets, because we just have that view. Why is this incredibly important for Microsoft? First of all, content is the future. We understand that. The networks and the platforms that have massive levels of scale when it comes to content consumption, creation, and distribution are the platforms that win because they hold the nations, the communities, the worlds, at the end of the day, the universe, I was trying to think of the best word, they hold people's attention. And if they hold people's attention, then that means there's a lot of things they can do. Now, a couple of ways LinkedIn ultimately has abilities to expand and monetize for Microsoft. Number one, they printed $8 billion of ad revenue last year. $8 billion of ad revenue. Just like, I mean, think of YouTube. YouTube does $30 billion a year, $7 billion a quarter off of ad revenue, which is a pretty substantial amount for Google. It's about 10% of their overall earnings. LinkedIn's getting to the point where $8 billion a year, you start imagining the level of scale. Now, YouTube has 2.3 billion DAUs. LinkedIn has about 875 million. If LinkedIn gets to the point where they have billions of DAUs, billions of MAUs using that product, one could argue that the ads on that platform are even better than the ads on YouTube because those ads aren't targeting consumers. They're targeting employment professionals. They're targeting businesses. So how much are you going to pay for a lead for your business? Well, a B2B lead is a much more valuable contract than getting someone to buy a toothbrush. So the level of ad spend and the necessity for ad spend on a platform that has centralized billions of people's attention all in one place creates a moat for LinkedIn that is unchallengeable because there is no other professional social network on the planet. It's not Facebook, it's not Twitter, it's not YouTube. Some of the same content might cross-post, but it's not the same type of content and it's not the same type of network effects that are generated on that platform. So LinkedIn is a growing community. One day we'll probably reach 1 billion members, right now very close at 900 million. And as a result of its growing presence and its growing community, it is becoming a content hub, which goes to the original point of sustaining people's attention. People are posting content on LinkedIn that has to do with whatever their worldview is in the intersection of business. So if you care about stocks, if you care about tech, if you care about finance, if you care about what's going on in the world socially, if you can connect that to some level of professional development or self-development or business or finance or like it's one of those broader macro themes. Obviously, the LinkedIn doesn't want you to talk about really hypersensitive things on the platform like religion or politics because they want to keep it more localized to the business niche. If you can figure out how to communicate in that way through video, audio, they have live audio rooms now, articles, it just becomes a massive hub for more and more people to communicate. That's the first argument. They're going to keep content as one of the main moats. Second is the connections. The idea that 50 million companies have a presence on the platform. They're actively promoting content on the platform. They're actively buying advertising on the platform, and they're actively maintaining a brand presence on the platform, which means if you want to be part of that platform or you want to be part of the company, you got to join the platform. You got to follow your company on LinkedIn. You have to keep up with your company updates. You have to look at job postings from that company if you want to sign up and join that company. Having an active presence on the platform means that LinkedIn now centralizes the ability for companies to maintain their presence on the platform, which further adds to the moat of LinkedIn centralizing attention. What that also means from a data perspective is LinkedIn is now able to see what industries are trending, what people are getting jobs, what skills are in demand. All of these points of data that you have when you have a billion people using one thing are incredibly valuable. And not only can you sell that data, but you can hyper optimize that data. For example, if there are more people in need of, let's say, AR engineers, right? Because for some reason there's a massive shift happening in tech, which I think the AR shift is happening, but let's say it's even more exponential if Apple releases a headset, for example, for looking for engineers in AR. That data is incredibly valuable to LinkedIn as a company because they know how advertisers can reach those people. They know how to optimize job postings so people actually get jobs in the AR space, which is what makes LinkedIn really valuable. So they're never going to leave LinkedIn. They might end up paying for LinkedIn Premium, which we didn't even talk about, which is like a sales navigator. You pay $60 a month and you can get more leads. It's like there are so many different ways that data optimizes the moat of LinkedIn. And this is important to understand because if we're going to invest in a company with one of its moats being a social network, which is a small thing in Microsoft, but it's one of the things that I think is like a secret weapon, then you've got to understand why that social network is even valuable. You've got to understand what's the point of that social network. Why did they pay $22 billion for it in 2016? What real value does it offer to the world and how can they optimize it? So the fact that companies are on it is a really important thing. And the third thing I'll say about this is international expansion in the context of government. So there's almost 100 million members in India, and there's 2 out of 3 people that join per second in the outside of the US, in the international regions. There are 3 billion people that are still not online. And those people will get online. And when they do get online, they will want to find jobs. They will want to maintain a professional presence, especially as the world more modernizes and more people start to realize they need to have a professional presence. When that happens, where are they going to go? I mean, yes, they're going to go to Facebook, Twitter. It's like, yes, they're going to join those other platforms, but those platforms are not going to help them get the types of opportunities LinkedIn does. And so when you talk about the growth of LinkedIn, especially outside of the United States, especially outside of the Western world where all these new people are coming online and all of those governments like China want those people to get jobs, want those people to be professionally developed. Why? Because if you have a job, you can contribute to society, you can pay tax revenues, you can actually like help society become more functioning. It can develop a community and organization. That means LinkedIn is going to be a very attractive technological solution to the issues that a lot of countries have, which is their people need jobs and their people need purpose and their people need an institution to be a part of. And so LinkedIn, the growth of LinkedIn kind of seems inevitable from that perspective. This is one of the reason I wanted to talk about this is because this is the first time I really tried to sit down and understand what is the moat of LinkedIn and why did Microsoft buy it. And when I saw this, that there's 3 people joining per second, 875 million members worldwide, 2 out of 3 of them international, every second, I was like, hold on, this is a different animal. This is a really different animal, and there's a lot of stuff they can do to even improve that platform and make it even more hyper-optimized to get you to come back every day. The problem with LinkedIn, I'll say, is that once you've found a job from it, or once you've consumed some content, like it's not like YouTube where you have to come back every day, not like Twitter where you have to see the latest updates every day, even though LinkedIn has a bunch of articles and trending news, but it does not have the same feel as something like a Twitter, YouTube, or Instagram. So obviously, as a business professional site, the usage and the engagement is harder to get people in, but if they keep doing content discovery, which is I saw a stat on LinkedIn that says there's 9 billion impressions and 3 million creators. Impressions is how many times someone views a piece of content. That means there's a massive disconnect between the number of people creating for the platform and the number of people consuming for the platform, which means there's a real gigantic opportunity here for LinkedIn to become like a beast in terms of content creation, content consumption. And again, the platform that has centralized creators' attention means that more people come to engage with it daily, which means you just have more of a thriving platform at the end of the day that is able to succeed. So LinkedIn will have challenges in the future, but it's growing quite well. I believe it is one of the secret weapons of Microsoft. Microsoft trades at a 28 times price to free cash flow right now. One could argue it's a little bit overvalued, especially given what's going on in the macro, that if the macro starts dipping, the S&P goes from, 3,900 to around 3,400, that Microsoft also will get a hit. But it is this growth engine inside of that company that deepens the moat of Microsoft. They have Xbox, they have the cloud, they have their advertising business, they have search, they have so many different things. And LinkedIn's just this one little thing that's printing $8 billion a year that could potentially grow and print a lot more per year as the world transitions to becoming an even more professional world. And they're going to need a professional network to sustain the professional identity in this world. So those are my thoughts on LinkedIn and Microsoft's secret weapon. Let me know what you guys think. Thank you so much for listening, watching. I'll see you in the next one.